Good afternoon, Tech Nation. Thank you for your patience. We are getting ready to start today's Webinar Wednesday. We are excited. We have over 300 registered attendees, and you are eligible for 0.1 CE credits from the ATI. Let's get started by giving away one lucky attendee a Tech Nation Tour t-shirt. What Chicago's shoreline landmark is celebrating its 100th birthday this year? You can answer now using the questions feature on your dashboard. While you're answering, I want to remind everyone about the Imaging Conference and Expo, ICE, coming up in Chicago, July 19, 20, and 21. We'll have over 500 imaging service professionals from across the country, and they're going to be learning, networking, and seeing the latest advances in imaging. ICE is approved for 26 credit hours by the ASRT, and you can register right now by going to attendice.com, attendice.com. Okay, it looks like the winner of the Tech Nation Tour t-shirt is Sam Wright, who correctly guessed the Navy Pier. All right. We would love to thank our sponsor today, Sonator Technologies. Sonator is a leading provider of real-time location systems, solutions, and develops, manufactures, and supplies a proprietary ultrasound indoor positioning system, IPS, that automatically tracks with 100% room or sub-room accuracy the real-time location of movable equipment and people in complex indoor environments such as hospitals. Sonator Technologies has made several PDFs available for your download, and you can find these documents in the handout section of your webinar dashboard. Our presenter is Alan Tangen, Director of Business Development and Technical Sales for Sonator Technologies. With over 15 years of experience in healthcare and Rtls industries, Alan has developed a keen understanding of the challenges facing healthcare and the significant value that an Rtls can deliver to overcome them. Alan, you can begin whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me today. And again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. We certainly hope you will find the wait worth your time. So today we're going to focus on driving operational efficiencies by implementing Rtls. For those of you who don't know, Peter Drucker was a management consultant guru. He's a very wise man, and this statement is very true. If you can't measure it, you certainly can't manage it. The key question is, how do you measure operational efficiency? Before we go about measuring anything, let's define what operational efficiency is. So according to Webopedia, operational efficiency is the capability of an enterprise to deliver products or services to its customers in the most cost-effective manner possible, while still ensuring the high quality of its products, services, and support. Of course, healthcare is a little bit different. So our definition for healthcare is the capability of a healthcare facility to deliver safe, effective, and efficient care to its community in the most cost-effective manner possible, while still ensuring the highest quality of care. So how do we achieve operational efficiency? By streamlining processes. Is there a better process for cleaning pumps? Minimizing redundancy, for example, duplication of tests, eliminating those. Reduce or eliminate waste. Do we have too much equipment? Are we spending too much time looking for equipment? Optimizing the use of resources. Do the caregivers spend a lot of time managing supplies that they could otherwise spend caring for patients? We have technology at the bottom here. Technology is key to operationalize efficiency. However, you have to have the human process in place as well. So technology can help you identify bottlenecks, improve communications, automate manual processes, remove human error, as well as other things. So in order to manage operational efficiency, again, we need to measure it. And to do that, you need consistently accurate data. And that is exactly what Rtls can provide. Location and event-based data that gives you something to measure. And once you can measure, you can start to manage and optimize your delivery of care. Before I give you a brief Rtls overview, I would like to poll for a question. Jamie?
Absolutely, Alan. I'm going to go ahead and launch the first poll for our attendees. Attendees should now be able to see the question, do you use RTLS for more than asset tracking? Answers should be yes, no, or we do not have an RTLS system. While you are busy getting your votes in, I will remind you that there was a workbook provided earlier today to all registered attendees. If you did not receive this workbook, you can download it in the handout section of your webinar dashboard. Also included there are 3 to 5 additional PDFs that Sonator Technologies was nice enough to provide. So please do look over the information, and you can visit their website at www.sonator.com. Alan, it looks like the majority of the audience has voted. I'm going to close and share these results. 19% of our audience does use their RTLS for more than asset tracking. 16% said no, and 65% of the audience does not have an RTLS system. Go ahead and give you control. You should now be able to pick up your presentation unless you'd like to do the other question.
I might as well go ahead and do the other one as well.
Great. I'm going to launch that one. Attendees, you should now see another question on your screen just to collect a little information from our audience base today. How long have you had an RTLS system at your facility? Please select one of these answers, 0 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 6+ years, or again, the option would be we do not have the RTLS system. I do want to remind everyone, just to give you time to vote, that we're going to have a Q&A at the end of the call today. If you could, please feel welcome to submit your question anytime using the question feature on your dashboard, or you can use the chat feature at the bottom of your webinar dashboard. All questions will be held until the end of Alan's presentation, and then we'll go through as many questions as we have possible. Looks like over 70% of the audience has voted, so I'm going to share these results, Alan. 13% of the audience has had their RTLS system for 0 to 2 years. 11% falls between 3 and 5 years. 5% has 6+ years for their system, and 72% of our audience does not have an RTLS tracking system. You should be able to pick up your presentation whenever you're ready.
All right, well, thank you very much. So it does look like quite a few people have not had a whole lot of experience with RTLS, or at least have not implemented it, so definitely take that into account here. So as a brief overview, there are basically 3 technologies utilized by RTLS companies today. So there's RF, which encompasses Wi-Fi, BLE, Zigbee, and proprietary frequencies. Then there's infrared and ultrasound. RF is a very useful technology, but it's generally very poor at providing accurate location. You will not get consistent room-level accuracy out of an RF-only based system. With Wi-Fi, for example, you'll be lucky to get the right floor, let alone the right room. Other systems may get you in within a room or 2, but most likely you will see tags jumping from one room to another from time to time. So I definitely would advise you, if you're looking into RTLS, that you do not just go with an RF-only based system. At some point in time, you will want to get beyond just asset tracking in general locations and get to room level specificity or bay level or subroom level. So in order to get consistent room level accuracy, you will need to turn to infrared or ultrasound, and you'll need a minimum of 1 device per room. That's just the way it is. And infrared and ultrasound are both also capable of providing subroom level accuracy, though due to physics, ultrasound is a lot more accurate and easier to control and will require a lot fewer devices than any infrared-based system. So the mechanics of RTLS, all real-time location systems consist of tags, infrastructure, a location engine, and at least one application. There are 2 approaches to the mechanics of RTLS. The traditional systems, and we had one of these, have tags transmitting to an infrastructure. So the infrastructure determines the tag's location and sends information to the location engine. And finally, the location engine sends the information to an application or several applications. This system, the tags are considered dumb as they have no idea where they are. And as they don't know where they are, the tags have to continuously transmit every few seconds, depending on your application, again, whether it's for assets or people. For people, it certainly is every few seconds. And they transmit frequently except when they're still. And frequent transmissions equal more traffic on your network, at least if you're using Wi-Fi, and a faster drain on the battery. So in other words, fast tag refresh rates are bad. And it's a little bit ironic because on RFPs that we see, one question is always seems to be there is that we want to know how fast our tag refresh rates are. And again, that is bad, and I'll get to what is good in just a second here. So more recent RTLS systems have the infrastructure transmitting the location to the tags. And with the tags determining their own location and sending the information to the location engine, and finally then the location engine again, sending that information to one or several applications. In this system, the tags are considered intelligent since they do know where they are. And there are several advantages to the infrastructure to tag approach. The infrastructure is fixed, and that means that the direction of the tag, that it's facing doesn't matter, which in turn means greater accuracy. With the infrastructure transmitting, power is not as big a factor. It's a lot easier to power the infrastructure than it is to power a tag. Everybody wants a smaller tag. But what that means is that transmission rates can occur more frequently. Again, you don't have to worry about the tag refresh rates because it's the infrastructure that's sending out the signals. And as a tag knows where it is, it doesn't have to continuously blindly transmit every couple of seconds. Instead, it can transmit only when entering a new location, with the exception of a heartbeat, of course, so that you know that the tag is still functioning. So that heartbeat doesn't have to occur more than every 5-10 minutes or so. And fewer tag transmissions mean that you get a much better battery life without sacrificing location update rates. So again, it's not the tag refresh rate that is important. It's how quickly a tag responds once entering a new location. And I would call that the location update rates. So if anybody's involved in an RFP, I would encourage you to request a system's location update rate and not a tag refresh rate. There are a lot of different RTLS companies out there, and obviously since I work for Sonator, I'm mostly familiar with our own. Our system, Sonator Sense, has the tags out of the box Wi-Fi enabled. They send CCX messages, which is a Cisco-based protocol. Now this is a little technical, but it is important. The reason it's important is they do not associate with your network, so there's no IP addresses involved, and instead they send a one-way broadcast over different channels. The reason it's important is that these messages, or each tag, I should say, on average, takes about 1 to 2 bits of bandwidth and per second. And so it will not affect your bandwidth. All we need for the system to work well is data coverage throughout your facility. We do not need the RTLS grade. RTLS grade is where you add a lot more access points to try to get more accuracy out of the Wi-Fi. Again, we do not recommend just having an RF-based system. There are some use cases that might be okay with it, but certainly down the road you need more accuracy. So to provide more accuracy, we incorporate location transmitters. These are battery-powered devices. They can be PoE if you would like. Of course, it's very difficult to wire a whole system if it's not new construction. So batteries are definitely popular. Battery life can be anywhere from a year to 8 years, depending on power levels and some other configurations. But these transmitters transmit ultrasound every second, and our tags latch onto the signals from the transmitter, and within 1 to 3 seconds of entering a location, you get the new location updated in the application. In addition to ultrasound, we also incorporate one-way low-frequency RF. It's basically like active RFID. And this is used for use cases such as infant security, and theft prevention in some other use cases. In addition to the transmitters, we do have a device that synchronizes everything and also reports the health status. So this is a supervised system. A lot of the applications are becoming more critical, and we want to make sure that you're alerted as quickly as possible if something is amiss, something's offline, or just battery status. And battery status is updated live every minute from our infrastructure. So you have very good control over where the batteries are. It's not just okay or not okay, but actually the percentage remaining. And that's very important, of course, to the maintenance of the system. Incidentally, tag battery life, you're looking at 1 to 2 years on people and 2 to 3 years on equipment. So battery life on tags are also very good with, again, the infrastructure to tag approach of doing things. Finally, the gateway can also pick up Wi-Fi signals from the tags so that if you have dead spots in your facility for the Wi-Fi, we can certainly supplement it. And if you have areas where you have mission-critical applications such as staff duress, it can serve as a redundancy to your access point. So even if your access points were to go down, you would still have the system functioning as it should. Okay, so now we're going to move on to asset management and inventory. And I would like to point out a distinction between asset tracking and asset management. Asset tracking is a lot more basic. I know facilities hire people just to look for things, and the RTLS can certainly help mitigate that. Invest in an RTLS system instead, you can find things. Asset management goes deeper than that, and we'll go over that in a second here. So what insights about assets can RTLS deliver to drive operational efficiency? Again, we can provide a real-time location, of course. Where is it? Who's got it? You can also get disposition, and this is where it becomes even more valuable. Is the asset clean? Is it dirty? Is it in use? Is it broken? And then the utilization of asset. How often do you use it? Do you have enough? Too many? And are they where you need them when you need them? Compliance, of course, is important. Is the asset safe to use? Has it been maintained properly? Is there a recall? If there is, you can certainly find it very quickly using an RTLS system. And the reporting is extremely valuable. You can get hourly reports, daily reports, weekly, monthly, yearly, and this can help you identify trends. So when during the day are we using wheelchairs in the ED, for example, or when are we using the most wheelchairs? Or which day of the week? Is there a difference? Is it certain times of the month or certain times of the year? So you can get seasonal predictions. And of course, these insights can help you get much more effective at efficiency by you can optimize and manage the equipment inventory and utilization rates, increase and improve staff productivity and efficiency, ensure patient safety with reliably maintained and functioning equipment, and reduce and avoid costs associated with fines and excess inventory. So let's pretend we're all nurses and we need an asset. Without an RTLS system, what might happen? If you can't immediately find it, you might start walking the halls. And obviously, if you're walking the halls and you're taking time to find the asset, the patient's laying there without the piece of equipment, and the outcome may be compromised. If you still can't find the asset, maybe you call biomed. Maybe there's a need for a manual inventory. Maybe you need to get a rental quickly or buy a new piece of equipment because you can't find it. And now you're looking at risk management. You can obviously decrease your patient satisfaction. And even if you do find it, how can you tell if that asset has been properly maintained or if it's available for use or dirty easily? I know there's obviously some manual processes that can be effective as well, but it certainly is a lot easier if you have RTLS. The point of the slide is really to give a visual as to how many how much just not finding an asset can affect your organization. And I hope you agree that there's definitely quite a lot of things that are affected. The bottom line is you end up with overspending and lost productivity. And not to mention the safety of your patients and the care of your patients. It could be disastrous, of course. And it's not just for nurses, but also for biomed, supply chain, and other staff members at the facility as well. So what if you had Rtls deployed? You would pull up a third-party application. We believe that there are so many applications for Rtls. One company cannot provide all of them. So there are excellent asset management focused software providers out there. There are excellent infant security systems out there. There are excellent nurse call systems out there. There's no one company that provides everything. So we have an open integration platform that feeds data to any software or application that can consume Rtls data. So you look at your third-party software for the asset and click, there it is. Patient gets a piece of equipment right away, which leads to better satisfaction and a better reputation of the hospital. And again, you will also be able to glean the information. Where has it been? Who's used it? Is it maintained? How long was it in use? And when was the last maintenance? And when you do pull up that piece of equipment in the software, there will be a filter where you only get the locations of the assets that are available and ready for use, and it should be filtered so that you get the closest one to you location-wise first. So I hope you can see the tremendous amount of cost avoidance and that you can get with a system like this. And of course, in making processes more efficient, you get a lot more time with the patient. So to summarize, with an Rtls system enhancing an asset management software, you see increased staff productivity. You can right-size your pool of mobile inventory. You can reduce interruptions. You can make sure that your fleet of equipment is fully maintained and operational. You reduce the equipment rental fleet and costs associated with that. And if you tag your patients, staff members, as well as equipment, and potentially visitors, you get significantly improved infection control. Of course, that would require a different application than the asset management software. And again, one company doesn't do everything, so there's some really good companies out there that specifically target infection control. So everybody knows time equals money, and money equals time. So let's move on to environmental and temperature monitoring. So how does Rtls drive operational efficiency by delivering environmental and temperature monitoring insights? Well, you get 24/7 wireless environmental temperature monitoring at your fingertips. You have automated logs you can pull up at any time. And again, there you can see trends over time. In addition, if the measurements fall above or below specific ranges, you will get automated alerts. And how does that drive operational efficiency? Well, it drives compliance, gets you in line with JCO policies. It increases staff productivity and get to spend more time with patients. And of course, it ensures patient safety. Your medications are still good to use. Dollar-wise, there's an awful lot of costs associated with spoiled pharmaceutical products. And when you're monitoring humidity and temperature in the OR, of course, now you can get notified if there's anything in the OR that's not set the way it's supposed to be. And in turn, you can then increase the number of procedures because you have less downtime. And if you can get one more case in the OR per day, I think everybody here knows that that's a significant revenue for the facility. So let's say you're manually monitoring your fridges. You can assume that one fridge takes about 10 minutes by the time you go to the fridge, log it, and report it. So under that assumption, and there's 3 shifts per day, and each shift it's being monitored, that's 30 minutes per day, 3.5 hours per week, and 182 hours per year. And that's just for one fridge. What if you had 1,500 fridges? That's 273,000 hours per year. That's quite a lot of hours. We got a call from a facility just a couple of months ago that they're interested in the solution because they had a fridge that went down, and there was approximately $100,000 worth of vaccines that could no longer be used because the fridge went down. And of course, that would not have happened had they had a temperature solution in place. So Rtls eliminates productivity loss and safeguards against spoiled inventory. Again, time is money, and money is time. So in summary of the temperature and environmental outcomes, you now have safer pharmaceutical products, safer medical environments, increased compliance, accurate, timely logs, reduced recall risk, and increased patient safety. Of course, patient safety should always be number one. So the ROI that Rtls enhanced systems bring can be huge. If you look at asset management as an example, in general, a facility can recoup its investment in as little as 6 months to a year. This is pretty well accepted today. The tagging process alone typically reveals a lot of equipment that's thought to be lost. So once tagged, of course, these items won't ever be lost again. When a facility starts implementing Rtls, there is, of course, an initial investment. However, once a facility has deployed a system, the incremental cost of adding more use cases decreases. And the more use cases, the higher the relative ROI. Really is a no-brainer. We're going to open up for questions now. So I appreciate, again, sitting through the webinar.
Great, Alan. Thank you for the presentation today. We have received quite a few questions while you were presenting the information. Some of them are still pending approval, but we have a couple to get started with. First one's going to be, what level of reduction in assets have you seen when Rtls is deployed?
Of course, that will vary across facilities as different facilities have different or better processes already in place. But just to give an example, at a 680-bed facility at St. Thomas Health in Nashville, part of Ascension, they have reduced their amount of pumps by 35%. So it's certainly very significant. And I'm sure that came close to paying for their whole system.
Great. Next question. If you're doing temperature monitoring of refrigerators, how do you know when one is out of range?
So the ranges are set in the software, and they're very easy to set. And of course, that's all instructed upon the implementation of the system.
All right, Alan, I have some additional questions here that have come in from attendees. Where can I find information on how to effectively utilize Rtls data? We have had AeroScout for over 6 years, and as far as the average user can tell, there is no usable system to quickly locate tagged devices.
That's definitely interesting. So different companies certainly use different technologies, and with our system, definitely do locate the tags in an accurate, with accuracy and very quickly. And of course, it does depend on where you have the accuracy deployed. You do have to have somebody that's a champion for the RTLS system working on it. We are working on our own ROI. It's a little different for us because we are the infrastructure and we don't have the end user applications. Certainly some of our partners do have that sort of information. I'd be happy to get anybody in touch with some of our partners to get that.
Great, that's appreciated. I'll go ahead and send you contact information over for that inquirer so you could follow up offline. Next question is a short one. How do you determine utilization?
I would say that you set up benchmarks of how things are working before implementing the RTLS. And then once you implement the RTLS, you'll quickly see how things are different. A lot of facilities will implement RTLS, and this is one of the reasons why you need to have somebody, an RTLS champion, if you will, from the facility side. Once you implement RTLS, you will quickly discover that there are bottlenecks or things aren't working exactly the way you thought they were, and so you will have to readjust rules in the software, for example, of the RTLS to have it better suit your needs. Or once it's identified the bottlenecks, of course, you improve the process, and then you want to make sure that you change the software accordingly so that it matches a new process. It's a very dynamic system. Now, I will also point out that the RTLS in and of itself is not an application. It's an enhancement to an existing application or software, right? So you already have an asset management system in place. The RTLS enhances it, makes it better. And same with the nurse call system. You already have that in place. The RTLS can enhance that. And I think that's a very important point.
Thank you. Next question is there something out there to use over WAN, W-A-N?
W-A-N?
W-A-N. There's a bit of an explanation here. This attendee is based in a major city, but much of the equipment they maintain is all over the southeastern U.S., or when equipment is moved from one location to another city.
Okay, that clarifies it. So with our solution, for example, everywhere we have Wi-Fi, you can identify our equipment. So even if, just not maybe the most normal example, but if you had a piece of equipment that was in a facility that had our system deployed, say they're using Cisco, and the piece of equipment went to another facility, they don't have our system deployed. If they have the Cisco MSC, or if they have Aruba for that matter, they can identify the MAC address of our tag. So even if they don't even have our system, there are ways of identifying that the equipment is somewhere where it's not supposed to be. Of course, somebody would have to see it, and they would look and find it and probably see our name on the tag and wonder where it came from. But again, they may know, depending on which affiliations they have with other facilities. We actually have had that happen, though, before.
Great.
As far as I just want to add, as far as outside of the, outside of the facility's Wi-Fi range, today we don't have anything that tracks that, but you would use GPS for that.
Okay, thank you. The next question is going to be, what is the best location precision of being certified with this technology?
Good question. Again, we can easily do chair level accuracy. So I would say we can create zones approximately down to 3-4 feet squared, somewhere around there. And it depends a little bit on the ceiling height. Our system is a zonal system, like the Wi-Fi and RF systems. They do more trilateration. We do not do that with ultrasound at this time, but we can create these zones with, we basically frame our zones, which is one of the reasons why we can get more accurate than anybody else. Not only do you know where the wall around the zone is, whether it's a real wall or virtual wall, doesn't matter. We can even create a virtual room. But we also, not only do we create the wall, but we create the zone within and without. So you know, the tag still knows exactly where it is, and to the accuracy of about 3 to 4 feet within that zone. The wall itself is probably about a foot at the widest. That would separate the two zones.
Great. I love this next question. Does the Rtls have an integrated layout of the building, or one has to be loaded to it? And can an AutoCAD drawing be uploaded?
Another good question. Again, we don't have end-user applications. However, we do have configuration software. The configuration software, we would load a CAD or a PDF into it. So you would, from the people configuring the system, they would have a visual of the facility, and they can drill down into different floors, different rooms, or different parts of rooms through our configuration software and locate things within there. And in addition, our software does show health status of, again, the battery life, where is it in percent on both tags as well as the infrastructure. And then for the end user applications, you may or may not need a map. It depends on what you're doing. A lot of the applications you would like to see a map, and some applications you're so familiar with your facility that the nomenclature would be fine. But those software vendors typically will do the same thing, either import a CAD or design it based on a drawing from the facility.
Great, Alan. The next question is there a program that would alarm if someone was walking out of the building with a piece of equipment that is tagged?
Another great question. So yes, each zone can be set up to, and actually tag specific. So if a tag, say it's high dollar equipment, you do not want it to leave the facility. Once it enters a zone, and again, this can be defined in the software. You might want to have it not right by the doorway. You might want to have it a little further in the building, or it can be anywhere. But anyway, as you get into this zone, you can get an alarm saying that this piece of equipment is about to leave. With ultrasound, you can cover it up. It's certainly harder to cover up than infrared light. And if you're really concerned about the security or theft, for those applications, I would recommend low-frequency RF as choke points. And it's really virtually impossible to cover up the RF signal. And again, you would get an alarm, and you can take that one step further by even locking a door. And that's, of course, like infant security. You would definitely want to make sure that doors are locked so infants don't get out.
Good. Here's an interesting question for you, Alan. Can a tag battery be changed, or should the tag be replaced when the battery is dead?
Tag batteries can definitely be changed, and we make it as easy as possible. It's a balance, because you have you obviously want to make it an easy change. At the same time, you want to make sure that the tags are highly water resistant and dust resistant. And so the way we currently do it are with 4 screws to maintain the ingress protection, but it's still easy to change for sure. And again, we have a very long battery life on an asset. You're looking at 2 to 3 years on our extended life tag. So it's not something you would have to do too frequently.
This is a follow-up to an earlier question about utilization, but in regards to utilization, how do you know when the device is in use versus just in a room?
Another excellent question. And a lot of the rules, you will have to have some assumptions. Now, a lot of the equipment is getting more intelligent as well. So it's possible to get the usage from some of our software vendors that get that data directly from the device. Again, it depends on the intelligence of that device. And so if you have that in place, of course, you would get exact utilization. Other methods would be to assume that if it's within X amount of distance from a patient, then it is in use. Or you can also rely on button presses of the tags. One button could be, okay, it's now in use. and the other button could be that it's either dirty or not in use anymore. Well, it's not in use anymore, it's probably dirty. There's different solutions around that, but there, in a lot of the equipment, there will be some assumptions, and those assumptions need to be made, of course, upon the implementation of the system.
All right, next question. Who typically manages the data from the system and implements the process to recognize the benefits?
Another great question. Rtls is one of the reasons I'm so excited about being in this industry is that it's never really boring. Rtls touches so many different applications, and some facilities will have an enterprise installation and they'll have a committee that decides which system they're going to go with or which solution. And others again will just implement it for assets or for a nurse call or for instance security. So it really depends on which application or applications the facility has chosen. For some of our more advanced installs, we certainly have some key players at the facility that work basically around the RTLS and spend most of their time on the RTLS system, making sure that it's working correctly and getting that data. So, but it does vary a lot.
Just a few more questions here before our time expires. How would you recommend handling change management for a facility after it has been implemented within a facility?
Change is obviously a lot of times it's difficult to deal with, and definitely finding those champions within each department and making them realize the value of it. Also, there is some sensitivity to deploying RTLS, especially for staff, where, oh my God, you're going to track me, and then making sure that you have the policies in place and explain what you're actually going to be using it for, and explain the benefits, so it's not a negative. For example, for locating staff, it can help them with safety. So you have a button to press if you see if you get into distress for some reason, whether you see a patient having issues or if you get attacked in the ED or something like that. So it can be viewed for safety as well. It can show that you're being overworked. You have too many things to do. So I think for the most part, for most people, it's not that hard to see the benefits, but once it's been explained. Yeah.
Good. I have time for 2 additional questions, but I do want to remind the attendees, if we were not able to get to your question today, I'm going to send all questions and contact information over to Alan so he can follow up offline with you. Second to the last question, Alan, how does one define the needed RTLS accuracy for various use cases? Do I need to be ready for all use cases right away, or can we scale to the solution?
Another very, very good question. So I would definitely recommend speaking with various companies and getting their input, and try to find a trusted consultant, if you will. Our system, for example, is very scalable. Again, you can start with just Wi-Fi tags and nothing else. Again, we don't really recommend it. At least, you can start, just as an example, you can start with the Wi-Fi tags, and then you can have choke points at the egress of the facility, and you can put in room level accuracy in your soil utility and clean utility and sterile supply, for example. Thereby, you will know you can get some utilization out of it off the bat, and then you can add to it as you go. And you don't have to be ready for all the use cases. You don't have to put in the infrastructure for all the use cases at once. You just want to make sure that the infrastructure that you do put in can cover the use cases later on. And I would strongly recommend not to implement all the use cases at once, because there certainly are quite a few, and it gets back to change again. People are resistant to change. If you go do it a little slower and start with 1 use case at a time or 2 use cases at a time, it also depends on the use cases, of course, but you're going to have a lot more success.
All right, Alan, last question. Why is it taking so long for the healthcare, let me start over, why is it taking so long for healthcare to embrace this technology?
Another great question. This technology started out in the mid-'80s, and so while it's at least for me, that's a long time. But you're right. It hasn't yet embraced it completely. We're seeing a lot more now. So year over year, we're definitely seeing it, and again, it's really exciting right now because it really seems like it's taking off. So there's lots of different reasons. One is that there's been, I think, a lot of companies have overpromised what they can deliver, and there's facilities that haven't had that champion to really manage the system. It is a dynamic system, and if you don't manage it, it doesn't matter how good a technology is. If it's not managed, it's likely not to be successful. It might be successful for 6 months, and then nobody knows how to use it or how to change things, and stop using it, and then you're back to the start again. So there's definitely a lot of different factors. The software is getting better and better. So initially the solutions, I mean, both from hardware accuracy as well as software, they weren't where they needed to be. I think all that has come together now, and so you're going to see a lot more healthcare facilities embrace this type of technology. There's so many things that it can touch, and you have to find the company that you can trust that will be honest with you and tell you what they can or cannot do from like our software perspective. And then, there may be one software company for this application, another one for that application to get best of breed. It's important that it's all that you educate yourself, and that's what we certainly try to help do.
I feel like you certainly did that today. Thank you for your time and the wisdom that you shared. And of course, thanks again to today's sponsors, Sonator Technologies. You can find more about this company by visiting their website, www.sonator.com. One lucky attendee will win lunch for their whole department. Details on how you could be this lucky attendee are included in your post-webinar survey, which will appear on your screen shortly. You must complete the survey today to obtain your certificate of attendance. If you do not see the survey or you have any additional questions for the webinar team, you can email us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. Thanks, Tech Nation. We look forward to seeing you next week.